Hello. Can you hear me? Sorry, I think we will start. Hello, everyone. Let's take a seat. Everyone make yourself comfortable. Can you hear me properly? Okay, that's good. If something is not okay, don't hesitate to let us know. So, my name is Kamil GOUNGOR. I represent the European Network on Independent Living, and I am a 34-year-old male sitting on a wheelchair. I wear a dark gray top. I'm not sure how it's in English called, this particular cloth, so yeah, let's say gray top. And yeah, I'm very happy to be here with all of you. Thank you for joining our session on empowering persons with disabilities to become self-advocates. I think it's a very important discussion, you know, how, and which is connected also to the very famous phrase that all of you probably know, nothing about us without us. So this means, you know, how we speak about ourselves and how we advocate for the things, for our rights and the things we want in our life. So here today, we have a very nice, big panel, one of the biggest probably of the session, a lot of speakers. We cannot even fit in the stage in one row, so my friends on the first row will excuse me. We will do a change in the middle of the session, so some people will go down and some people will come up. That's life, unfortunately. We have too many, but this is also the exciting part of the sessions, that we are too many, and we have examples of awardees and of other people who have developed methods which are related to how to empower self-advocacy and disabled people, and you know, how to make sure that dialogues with decision makers are established in society. So, and we have people from all over the world. You know, this session, when I saw that I would be chairing a session, that I have, and there are people on the stage from Australia to Uganda, and from Brazil to Israel, and everything in between, that was okay, everyone is here. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I think we're slightly behind the time, so I don't want to take, you know, I am not the protagonist here, so I will not bother you with my annoying voice. I will go quickly with the speakers, so maybe we have a time also for people to ask questions, which would be fantastic because, you know, I see a lot of you here, so I'm sure there will be interest to ask people what they do. And yeah, so I will start with a nice guy sitting next to me, Simon Green, easy name, probably the easiest on the panel. Hopefully I will manage to say also the other ones properly. And Simon, you are representing the Youth Disability Advocacy Service in Australia. So you probably did the biggest trip of everyone. Hope you have energy to tell us what will you do with us. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'll just grab the...
Yeah. And needless to say, everyone has 8 minutes.
All right. Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Simon Green. I use he, him pronouns. There we go. I have a big brown beard, I've got a shaved head, and I am a white man who's nearly 40. I have cystic fibrosis, which is a chronic illness, and I want to acknowledge Bunurong and Wurundjeri country. Those peoples are the traditional caretakers of the land I live and work on back in Australia. And I come from the Youth Disability Advocacy Service. YDAS is an agency of Youth Affairs Council of Victoria, and we support disabled young people aged 12 to 25 to achieve their human rights. We do that through education and advocacy. We work in the state of Victoria, which is in Australia, and our YDAS Young Leaders program was created with the support of the Victorian State Government, the National Disability Insurance Scheme, Children and Young People with Disability Australia, and the Duke of Edinburgh Award. And I want to make sure I acknowledge them because they have been a big part in what we've done. So why did we start a leadership program for young disabled people? You'll notice I use identity first language. That comes from our youth committee, our steering committee's preferences. Well, we found out that 6% of Victorians, that's in our state, have had contact with a disabled boss. That's not seen or worked with, that's just had contact. 11% of Victorians have had contact with a disabled teacher. 41% of disabled students finish secondary school, compared to 62% of students without disability. 17% completed a bachelor's degree at university, compared to 30% of people without disability. And 53% of working-age Australians with disability are employed, which is 40% less than people without disability. So that means we aren't leading, and we aren't seen to be leading. And as a result, we aren't influencing or making decisions or wielding any power. So that needs to change, so that we can live better lives, so that our human rights aren't denied, and so that we aren't twice as likely as others to be abused. So that we can uphold the motto, nothing about us without us. So we reached out and we interviewed 41 people in our country, including disabled young people, leaders with disability, and people in the leadership, disability, and youth sectors. We also read through many reports, including the Zero Project back in 2019. That's when I found out about the awards and was excited to learn about what you'd all been doing in the world. And all of that helped us learn that leadership programs are all pretty much the same. They usually teach you about self-discovery, they talk about communication, you'll learn about teamwork and some sort of project management as well. But what's really important with a leadership program is who you're teaching it to and who teaches it. And that there also needs to be wraparound support. You can't just do a program, finish it, be excited, then go into the world and hope for the best. Everything gets in the way. You need things after that to keep you being able to break through the various barriers, not just disability, but going back to your work or your place of business or your school. But most importantly of all, and in Australia this was the biggest issue at the time, leadership programs just weren't accessible. So once we had the framework for what makes a good leadership program, we then invited disabled young people to design the actual workshops for and with us. On the screen you'll see Bryce, a young man in a blue collared shirt, May, a young person with red shoulder-length hair, giving the peace sign, Amy, a young woman with brown glasses holding crutches and smiling at the other two, and then me, Simon, a bearded man standing like a bird flapping his wings for some odd reason, I don't remember why. These were some of our co-designers, and I'd also like to thank Hayley Zilberberg, Kelsey McGowan, Elise Gumley, Saif Shahab, Iz Hay, and Mia Gwynn, all people who designed and ran this program with us. We put disabled young people in a room full of the sorts of research we'd gathered. Here are photos of lots of post-it notes and butcher's paper up on walls. There are all sorts of graphs, charts, images, articles, and interviews about self-discovery, advocacy, access and inclusion, communication, teamwork, leadership styles, and project management. The post-it notes that are scattered all over the board, they were full of very powerful insights from our disabled young co-designers. We also had profiles up on the wall that had drawings and descriptions of other disabled young people we had interviewed. They were from all sorts of different backgrounds with different disabilities and leadership goals, and by including them and including their profiles, we kept their voices and needs in the process, even if they couldn't be in the room at the time. So these co-designers and all this knowledge helped us break down common leadership activities and just make them more accessible and relevant to their context. An example is public speaking, very common, but public speaking isn't very accessible when you think about it. It's not inclusive. It's usually about either confronting fear or developing communication skills. We weren't really interested in communication skills, so we worked on stripping public speaking back to how to choose and practice communications in their best ways, breaking down bias just speaking and writing. So encouraging drawings, text messaging, emojis, GIFs, Auslan, communication boards, whatever a person needs to communicate in their best way. And we did that with all sorts of different activities. This is a photo of two young leaders in one of our in-person workshops. There's a young woman with dark hair and dark glasses smiling next to a young man who's also smiling as he looks down at his desk. The result was a series of workshops designed by and for disabled young people, delivered by disabled people. They're highly experiential. Young people said they prefer practice and experimentation with ideas rather than just to be told about them. We have disabled speakers come and visit us, groups of 10 to 15 meet, they build relationships. We've delivered 12 groups now of our workshops to 137 graduates. The impact. In a survey that graduates do at the end of the final workshop, there we go, we ask each graduate to rate their skills, confidence, and knowledge about 11 key areas of leadership. They rate themselves before and after the workshops, and then we compare them with their self-reported change. On average, graduates increase from 53% of them agreeing they have leadership traits up to 88% after they finish the program. We see a 27% increase in the mean. This is a photo of a group of boys and girls waving their hands in an Auslan applause. We check in with graduates and we mentor them and we find them opportunities to develop further. That's the wraparound support. And then we track their stories of success. This is one of the most exciting ways to measure the outcomes because we get to hear all these wonderful stories from our leaders as we support them. We've captured 370 success stories. That results in an average of nearly 3 success stories per graduate, but some have way more. This includes 136 stories of advocating for disability, LGBTIQA+, regional and rural Victorians, climate change, and a range of other issues at all different levels, 89 jobs or paid engagements, 45 joining boards or committees, 32 taking up volunteering or community work, and 80 starting studying, training, or education. I'll leave now. I'll finish up with some words from one of our young leaders to measure the impact. I am very grateful to you and WIDAS for supporting me to get this job and help me realize that this is something I'm allowed to fight for. If the outcome of advocating for myself is losing this job opportunity, then it only reaffirms that this is not a place I should be working. One of your questions really stuck with me. Do you want to be the reason, do you want this to be the reason you don't ask for what you need? And the answer to that is absolutely not. I know there's a long way to go, but I feel like I can do this. No matter the outcome, I'll always be proud that I advocated for myself. That's from one of our young leaders. There's a website there on the board, yakvik.org.au/youngleaders. Thank you very much. I'll now pass it on.
Thank you, Simon. Just exactly on time. I mean, 4 seconds left. That's impressive. Thank you for this presentation and for showing, how you work in Australia on leadership for disabled people. That's, I think, a really important part. And I have friends who went to Australia to learn about leadership in in New Zealand and in Australia, how they work. So we can bring also, for example, in Europe, the leadership practice you do in there. So this is very impressive. So we continue with our second speaker. You can hear me, right? Yeah. Okay. So the speaker is Nils WOEBKE, from a director officer for accessibility at Capito sorry for that, I will do my best. Capito Mecklenburg-Vorpommern in Germany. They are one of the awardees, also like Simon's project. And yeah, they will talk about the work they do with people with intellectual impairments. And yeah, I think, Nils, you will bring also some colleagues later, but I will leave the floor to you. You have 8 minutes, just to let also to all speakers, we have this very interesting device. When you see the yellow light, it means that you have 2 minutes. But I will be also to remind you.
Okay, hello everybody. Thank you, Simon, for sharing this great project information. I would like now to talk about our project. It's actually a project bundle, many projects that want to increase political participation and strengthen empowerment and self-advocacy. I will do this with my teammates here, also Carola and Heike and Thorsten. I say hello and thank you for coming and joining me. We have 6 projects that we would like to share now with you. The first one is a newsletter in easy, accessible language. We know that not too many people with disabilities have access actually to political information because the topics that are presented in press are not their topics at first sight actually, and the information is not accessible. So we chose the way to make them to editors, to get them into an inclusive media group with a state chancellery in the federal state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. And I would now give the word to my colleague Heike. Would you please come up and yeah, maybe sit here in front of me.
Hello, I'm Heike. I'm a white-skinned woman with straight hair, and I wear eyeglasses. I'm hard of hearing. For participation, I need often transcriptors. Among other things, I work as a translator into easy language and as an editor too. I work in an inclusive team together with the State Chancellery of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. We create a newsletter to inform about politics and more. Together we identify the topics of the next issue, and then we research on the contents. The newsletter is written in easy language, and pictures support the understanding of the text. You can get an audio vision too via QR code.
Okay. Thank you, Heike, for introducing and describing the newsletter. I also have another teammate here. This is Carola, and she will now give you some information what she's doing in that inclusive media group. I would ask her a question in German and then translate it in English. Carola, was machst du in der Redaktion vom Newsletter, vom Inclusive Newsletter? Was ist deine Aufgabe?
Meine Aufgabe ist, mit Menschen zusammenzuarbeiten, die ich zu mir hole und Texte zusammen bearbeite und gucke, ob es auf leichte Sprache ist und dass man es gut versteht. Mein name is Carola, I am from Chamonix.
Yeah, thank you, Carola, for your information. She said that she's checking the information if it's accessible, understanding, and then would spread that information into different target groups. Okay, I go on further with another project we do. We do that together with the European Integration Center in Rostock in North Germany. This is an inclusive podcast group that we qualified as editors, and they are researching some topics like health topics during the corona pandemic and other issues, labor market issues for people with disabilities. And here you see that group. This podcast is also accessible and has a descript to read if people can't hear the information. This is another best practice example we did for the federal state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. We made a brochure for the election. This is not so new, I guess. We made this also accessible, but we created some movies about that, and we also had a educational game on that, where you can see on the right. And I would again ask Carola, what about this game? Carola, was hat es mit diesem Spiel auf sich?
Ich habe gemeinsam an einem Workshop teilgenommen und an diesem Wahl, wie kann ich wählen. Dann habe ich mit diesem Spiel sehr oft mit meinen Neffen gespielt, damit er lernt, auf einfache Sprache auch zur Wahl zu gehen. Und okay. Das hat ihm Spaß gemacht.
Okay, thanks again, Carola. She described that she was a participant of a workshop, political workshop before the election, and there she learned to play that game. And afterwards, she has gone into her family and played that game. That's about actually the content of the brochure, and it's playing game where you can see some movies and get some questions focused, and also have some videos on that. So learning could actually make fun, and it's not that hard of all. There's another example. We make a lot of qualifying work at our team, Capito Mecklenburg-Vorpommern of the Lebenshilfewerk Hagenow. This is my organization I work for. We qualified experts on their own, self-advocacies that are going on a traveling exhibition, and they go all over our state and talk about politics and inclusive life. And again, Carola, what is your job? What did you learn on that?
Ich habe 2 Jahre und wir machen es auch länger an diesem Projekt mich dran beteiligt. Und wir haben über politische Arbeiten gesprochen, da sie sehr wichtig ist. 30 Jahre Entwicklung, was hat sich getan, was muss noch tun. Und wir wurden erstmal 1994 im Grundgesetz genannt.
Okay, thank you, Carola. She talks about politics, about history, what changed and what needs to be changed in the future. And she talks with people, with politicians, and makes them aware of inclusion needs. Yeah, and then to round it up, we, as I said, have some election workshops. There's one guy that we qualified for being an election worker during the election process, and he was also a co-director for that workshop and assisted. And again, the last slide I would like to show, this is about Torsten, who's sitting in the first row. He works on local base in the city of Schwerin, capital city in the federal state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, and we assist and reflect him in his self-advocacy work on local base, where he was a candidate for the local elections and works on different local committees. And yeah, we see, to round it up, that different strategies are necessary to increase the political participation and also the awareness of the organizations that we work and would like to influence in order to make an inclusive society. Thank you.
Thank you.
Super.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Nils, and your team for this very interesting and diverse. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, thank you. For this very diverse and interactive, no, interactive is a good word. Anyway, for this very, yeah, diverse, I think is the right way to say it, presentation and inclusive presentation. And I think what you do is from the editor project to the political, to the last one, and all the in between. All the, you said 6 projects, right? I mean, are all very important for people here in Germany, and not only in Germany, because we are here to learn and to get inspired from each other and to see, you know, what works in one place and to get practices to our own communities. So I think this is what we saw in your project as well. And now we will go to a next very interesting project, again with people with intellectual impairments, but this time we head to Turkey. I told you we will go throughout the whole world, so be ready to travel. And I invite Merve OEZMAN, the program coordinator from Turkey Down Syndrome Association, and Merve will present us a project which is also among the awardees, and it's about self-advocacy groups for people with Down syndrome. Merve, yeah, the floor is yours.
Hello, welcome everyone. I am Merve. I'm a white woman with ginger hair, and I'm wearing black jacket and white shirt today. Before I start my speech, I would like to thank on behalf of my country for the support from all over the world, and especially from the United Nations for the massive earthquake disaster that occurred in my country. So we are, as Turkey Down Syndrome Association, work to ensure, sorry, I forgot the presentation, work to ensure that individuals with Down syndrome have an independent, productive, and socially integrated life and are able to speak for themselves. We are a non-governmental organization that works to change the perception about disability to ensure dissemination of new programs in Turkey by following the research about Down syndrome and producing projects that lead to development. Most people with Down syndrome don't know their rights and what they have and what to do if they are violated. So they have a little say in what they want in their life. As I mentioned, our aim is to encourage them to speak themselves and support them to make their own voices heard. For this purpose, we started our self-advocacy works in 2017 as a project called My Voice, My Society, which is funded by Sabancı Foundation for a year. And as a result of this project, the Voice Plus One group is held. And this is a self-advocacy group consisting of people with Down syndrome. The group meets at regular intervals and determines the issues it wants to advocate. The group, they work on which topics and how to advocate by means of a facilitator and then take action. The issues that the group advocates sometimes consist of a personal experience and sometimes they advocate on issues that concern people with Down syndrome around all over the country. And the Voice Plus One group is the first advocacy group in Turkey, consisting of individuals with intellectual disability, with special needs. This work has also been instrumental in other disability organizations to start their self-advocacy work as well. And at the beginning of the project, our trainers had training about how to run, how to support self-advocacy group from Down Syndrome International. And thanks to this training, we easily created a new self-advocacy group in our association. And the first group was 9 participants with Down syndrome, and they're from 4 different cities. We worked with this group for a year, and they organized some different campaigns. And then representatives from the other cities held their own self-advocacy groups in their cities. So currently, in these 4 cities, we reach up to 25 self-advocates with Down syndrome in total. And our goal is primarily to increase the number of self-advocates with the special needs and the facilitators, of course, in the subject. For this purpose, we will train the trainers from 15 different NGOs as facilitators with a project supported by European Commission in the Network for the Rights of the Disabled Child, which we are also in a member. After these trainings, they will form their own groups of children with disabilities. So how the self-advocacy group works. Although the self-advocacy group has a basic training plan, the content of the training is determined by the group themselves. They decide which issue they will advocate on, and they decide which tools and materials they will need to carry out this advocacy work. The sessions are organized through a facilitator just to empower them on these issues. And the Voice Plus One group became the first group in Turkey to demonstrate that individuals with intellectual special needs can speak for themselves. And now I will give the stage to Robert Cem Osborne, one of the first members of our self-advocacy group, and who will share his experience with you. And thank you for this great opportunity to speak here. Robert, it's your turn.
Hello, welcome everyone. First of all, I am happy to see you all in here today. I am Robert. I live in Istanbul. I am 29. I work in a restaurant at a big hotel chain, and I am a self-advocate. I explain to other people what it means to live with Down syndrome, and I defend my rights. I am a member of Voice Plus One self-advocacy group and work with my friends. You see the lion on the logo. We choose it because our voices will be strong and everybody will hear use like a lion roar roar. We went to the parliament in 2008 and asked the MPS to start a commission on Down syndrome. You know what? They did. We were very happy that they heard us see the lion. We had a press conference there. It was so big. We were on several papers and news, and many people heard about us. One of our friends made a speech after the commission is founded and told them what we need. Our group became famous. They started to invite us to speak at different places. This was Turkey. I am also in the self-advocacy group of Down syndrome International representing Turkey. I was invited to the New York to speak at the World Down Syndrome Congress. I gave the speech at TEDx Reset as a representative of our group. Last year, another member of our group gave a speech at TEDx Hacettepe University. As well, we make presentations at big companies or schools to create awareness about Down syndrome during COVID. We made big campaign and we got priority for people with Down syndrome to receive the vaccine. Yes, we succeeded. I am happy to say we have done a lot of great work and we will continue. We always say nothing about me without me, and we will succeed there too. Thank you.
Thank you both, Merve and Robert. And I'm sorry, I think I forgot to introduce you, Robert. Sorry, I didn't see you from here. My bad, I tried to take the responsibility. But I'm very happy for your presentation and for your message also in the end. Nothing about us without us. And big congratulations to what you do in Turkey with the Voice Plus One project and how you engage people with Down syndrome in many activities. So thank you for that, teşekkürler, and solidarity to Turkey and to Syria in these difficult times for the country. But now we get ready, we take a big flight. We go from Turkey to USA, so more than 10 hours. But unfortunately, Edward Winter will have 8 minutes, not 10 hours. And Edward is Senior Technical Advisor for Gender Equality and Social Inclusion at World Vision United States. And Edward will talk about how easy to use method for connecting communities, service providers, and the government. And it's also one of the awardees projects. Edward, the floor is yours.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I am a tall white male with graying hair and wearing a grey jacket. Oh, sorry, blue jacket. I'm muddling myself this morning. So I'm representing not the US particularly. I'm representing the work throughout the world that World Vision does. We work in nearly 100 countries around the world. And it's my privilege to be part of that. So within our work on disability inclusion, it fits into our approach more broadly on gender equality and social inclusion. We see disability as an intersecting vulnerability amongst others, gender, ethnicity, race, religion, multiple vulnerabilities. What we've come up with a framework where we're looking at 5 domains of vulnerability: access, systems, participation, decision-making, and well-being. And these are a lens at which we're trying to look at some of the issues in different countries where we work. So social accountability is an approach that has been it's broadly accepted by the World Bank and others. The theory behind this is that governments and particularly local authorities where we tend to operate this program are only going to provide services as good as the citizens demand. And it's great having rules and regulations, and we have many good rules and regulations in the countries where we work, but no quality of implementation. So one of the issues we want to address within this program is not just access, in theory, to information and improved well-being of individuals. That is a lot of what international development does, but it doesn't scratch the inherent issue, which is persons with disabilities are often excluded from participating in events because they're not accessible. They're excluded from making decisions, and the systems themselves that they're built around are inherently discriminatory. So this program, for those that this is a 4-step diagram here. It really outlines the key 4 elements. So in our program, so we need to organize and prepare staff. We need to enable citizen engagement. For persons with disabilities, we've learned that that means going directly to them and not just expecting them to come to you. So that's one of the areas we really need to work with our staff on. Then we engage via a community gathering. So this may be complementary to local government processes, or it may be in parallel, depending on the context. In situations where local government processes in particular are dominated by men or advantaged groups, then we would create a parallel system to make sure that that is representative. However, our intention would be that once we've created that separate parallel gathering, that the impetus and energy and decisions made in that community gathering follow through into budgets or decisions made at local level. And then ultimately, this is about improving services and policy. So we hope that nationally, rights and other things will improve, but ultimately, we want to see change and people want to see change. Otherwise, they're going to give up. So this is the aim of the program. This is a slightly more detailed explanation. I hope that you will be able to see the slides, but this really takes you through the process and really as I said, it's critical to prepare citizens to engage, whether with disabilities or without, because otherwise the technocrats can control the room with their jargon and whatever. The really empowering thing is that the process is defined by the participants. So what we want to do is persons with disabilities are themselves saying, you know, we have all these, we'll inform them about their rights and priorities, but the really key thing is that they're the ones that actually say, healthcare is number one for us, or education is number one. They'll set the criteria, identify what needs to be done, measure it, identify what's going on, do the research, and come with a plan, not just, we need this, 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 this. It has to be realistic and tangible. And hopefully this video is going to work. I don't know how to make that. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, let me go back. Do we know anyone who might? No. Okay. At the back, can we play? Thank you.
Dzina langa ndine Peter Simoni, ndili ndi zaka 48, ndili ndi ana 5. Ineyo ndimapeza thandizo lochepa kwambiri pa tsiku.
I earn very little every day.
Chifukwa ndimagwiritsa ntchito za manja monga nkhasa, soka. Ndinakhala ndi maganizo wokhala pa gulu limodzi CVA isanabwere chifukwa cha mavuto
because of the challenges we were facing. We have challenge entering the hospital, especially those who use wheelchairs. It's the same situation in schools. Rooms have steps. The learners with disability cannot enter the classroom. They have to stay outside. It's painful because people with disabilities should have equal rights just like everyone. When they introduced CVA, they included people with disabilities. It got us excited that finally we can raise our concerns. When we expressed these concerns during a meeting, they took action. A ramp was constructed at the hospital, and we did not queue anymore. The medical personnel would now check if there are people with disabilities, so they attended first. This increased the number of people with disabilities going to health clinics. The community's advocacy to have friendly facilities for people with disabilities has also led to the construction of wheelchair ramps in schools. Our voices are now being heard, and those in authority take action. I'm very happy. Thank you. So, we need to engage, obviously, persons with disabilities in this process, but also service providers as a whole. So it's not us against them. It's a joint effort. We've experimented with different kinds of groups, mixed versus separate groups in different countries. Personally, I think the mixed groups are more impactful because they build coalitions and networks that persons with disabilities don't always have. And results have been impressive. I won't have time to go into those results, but I hope you will see on my slides that across different countries, real change at local level and moving up to national level. And even our advocates have then, even as Simon here, represented at UN level. So it's a real learning ramp. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. Thank you for presenting what you do in nearly 100 countries all over the world. And also with the interesting video. Now, what we will do is we will basically change the panels. So I will kindly ask the people who are up to go down and the people who are down to go up. In between, I hope you are all enjoying the session. I think it's very interesting. Now we will take a trip to Uganda with Dorothy NAKATO. So let's wait a second. We are good on time, so we are okay. Okay. So. Yeah. Dorothy, you can come here. Yes. Hello, hello. Good. So, hello again in the second part. And yeah, I will ask the speakers of the first half to don't leave. We want a photo together in the end. But until then, I will introduce the very beautiful and nice lady next to me, Dorothy NAKATO from Uganda, the co-founder, executive director of Uganda National Self-Advocacy Initiative, also one of the awardees of the event. And she will speak about peer-led organization of persons with psychosocial disabilities in sub-Saharan Africa. So we go to Africa from, yeah, basically, okay, the previous project was everywhere. But anyway, so Dorothy, the floor is yours. Thank you, and I hope you have energy because you just spoke before in the previous session. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Is it on?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, good morning, everybody. I'm Dorothy NAKATO. I'm a woman with psychosocial disabilities, indigenous, and I'm wearing a traditional wear of one of the indigenous groups in Uganda. It's beaded with beautiful and colorful colors with a ribbon on the head. I'm dark-skinned with black hair. Thank you so much, and I'm so honored to speak to you today. Yes, I am the co-founder and executive director for Uganda National Self-Advocacy Initiative. We are working on the institutionalization of persons with psychosocial disabilities. Yeah, Uganda National Self-Advocacy Initiative is a peer-led organization of persons with psychosocial disabilities.
Oh, no, please continue.
Yeah. We support persons with psychosocial disabilities to live independently and be included in their communities of their own choices. We advocate for inclusive communities, and we are rural-based. There is a problem. 90% of persons with psychosocial disabilities are institutionalized in Uganda, and mainly those from the rural areas. And psychiatric institutions are meant to be for treatment, but they have become places of human rights violation, including physical and sexual abuse, neglect, torture. Just an example of, like in January this year, of course, there are so many publications that came out of the newspapers on the allegations of the abuses that are taking place in one of the biggest institutions, Butabika Hospital. However, it's under investigations. Historically, we are believed not to be able to make our own choices about our lives on how, where, and with whom to live, which is not true. With appropriate support, we are able to make our own choices. And UNICEF has made it a reality to many persons with psychosocial disabilities to live within the communities of their own choices. We have a solution, and our solution is Support My Choice. We called it Support My Choice And it's a model that supports to reintegrate persons with psychosocial disabilities back into their communities of their own choices in the rural. And how do we do that? We prepare the person in the institution for reintegration. We also prepare families and communities and support placements. And we also provide peer-to-peer support and follow-up until the person is resilient enough to live within the community. And then we advocate. And the whole process of the institutionalization, for one person, it can take a whole year to make sure that this person is sustainably and successfully reintegrated into the communities. Our success. UNICEF is currently working in 2 main districts in central Uganda, and since 2017, we have supported 170 persons with psychosocial disabilities, survivors of institutions, and those at risk of being institutionalized, and their caretakers. And now UNICEF wants to replicate this to the other parts of the country. We have a testimony. One of the young person that we supported said this: institutions are hell. I was traumatized by the dark seclusion room that I was put in. Thank you, UNICEF, for taking me out of the institution. Those words were said by one of the youth that we supported out of the institution. Our replication plan. We want to deepen our support to persons with psychosocial disabilities, where we are already working. And we also want to change the mindset of families, communities, and policymakers from institutional living to community living. And then we want to replicate this model to the other parts of the country. Of course, we have needs, and we really want to see that each year we are able to reintegrate at least 100 persons out of the institutions. And with your support, we need $60 per person, or $720 per year to successfully reintegrate one person out of the institution. And we also need, with your support still, we need $24,000 for the next 3 years to change the mindset of families, communities, and policymakers from institutional living to community living. And we need another $20,400 for the next 3 years to be able to successfully replicate this model the other parts of the country. With your support, it's very possible to restore autonomy to persons with psychosocial disabilities to be able to make their own choices of how, where, and with whom to live. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you for this very strong presentation and describing the situation. I mean, the statement, "These institutions are hell," is a very strong statement, and we need really to realize it. I mean, I work in the field, so I totally know what you mean, and I have heard a member of us saying that institutions is like prisons, but in institutions, but at least in prison, you know why you are there. In institution, you don't know why you are there. So thank you for the work you do, the Support My Choice program. And this also gave me in mind something that I would like to mention, going a little bit out of the agenda, just a very quick comment. Also taking into account what Edward said earlier, and this is not in any way personal because I truly respect your work and I think you do a fantastic job all over the world. But you mentioned the word vulnerabilities, and you said disabled people, vulnerable people. And this is a language actually used in the UN. We are in the UN now. If you read the 2030 agenda, no, the 2030 agenda, sorry, the SDGs and all this stuff, disabled people are considered vulnerable people, women are considered vulnerable people, refugees and so on. And I think this is a bit of problematic, and it's important to speak about language because we are not vulnerable. You saw from Dorothy, you saw from Robert earlier, and from many other participants in this event. This is not vulnerable people. We are people who are oppressed, who are discriminated, and this is what put us in a position that makes us, let's call it vulnerable, but it is not something we are indeed. So that's why I'm also advocating for change of word and not use this kind of language, which I don't imply in any negative way, Edward, that you wanted to do it in any, you had a bad intention, no offense. Your work is fantastic. Just to say about this language of vulnerable, which we see not only in this session, in many sessions, yesterday, today, and probably tomorrow. So yeah, that's the message that we are not vulnerable, and Dorothy showed it very well. Now, we will go to the speaker with the most difficult name for me, but hopefully I will manage. And basically we go to Sweden. That's easy. And the speaker is Kjell STJERNHOLM. That was not that bad, but his organization is a hell, similar to institutions. I mean the name. And he's coordinator of Studieförbundet Vuxenskolan. Oh boy. Hopefully I managed to say it a decent way. Kjell, feel free to correct me. And yeah, Kjell and his presentation about study cycles, supporting persons with intellectual disabilities in political processes is also among the awardees. Kjell, the floor is yours. And sorry that I killed your name and the organization name.
Thank you, Kamil. Oh, you're pretty close. I'm an old man trying to stay young with gray hair, beard, glasses, a purple shirt, and a green jacket. This method was awarded best practice already in 2019. And again, this year, we're happy about that. We'll cut right to why. Right, we're on spot. There I am. Okay. So our NGO is within a special branch of Swedish society. 10 NGOs share 150 million euros yearly to support the population on lifelong learning and arts of their own choice. And our NGO is the biggest on disability participation and close allies to FUB, that's the Organization for People with Intellectual Disabilities. And it's together with FUB that we have created our method. This is the analysis that makes my choice, my election a success. It's no use to instruct on how to vote if you are not allowed to understand what we are voting about. So the very politics need to be made accessible. But this also makes it harder, because now we need to address politics without influencing the participants on their individual choices and the election as a whole. This is how we do it. My Choice, My Election is a study circle on democracy. We learn why and how we vote, and the different levels of political responsibility. We troubleshoot the different obstacles that could stand between the individual and successful participation, and we practice in role play how to vote. Once the participants start asking questions on what a certain party wants to do, we do not answer. Instead, we connect them to political parties and politicians for direct answers and/or easy-read editorial sources. Thereby, we never ever influence our participants on their choices. The very last week, before election, we arranged easy-to-understand political discussions all over Sweden. The participants of My Choice, My Election runs the show and ask the questions. The politicians undertake 1 hour of training on how to lower the language barrier prior to participating. That is, they learn the principles of easy read. In Sweden, most political parties most often only produce easy read about their national policies. As a service to the party's local branches, we have produced an online education, Easy Read for Politicians. Half a day, and you know the principles of Easy Read and can write your most important promises in easy language. In 2022, we were present with My Choice, My Election in 85 municipalities, 158 study circles, organized 922 participants with intellectual disabilities, and the easy-to-understand political discussions had more than 1,600 participants. And the method works. Previous studies show a voter participation of people with ID to be about 20 to 43%. But for the participants in My Choice, My Election, the voter turnout is 85%. And tops the general average of Swedish voters. Voter participation for Sweden as a nation is 84.2. The 15% not voting also shared why. Half of them missed election due to lack of support on election day. So if their carers and staff had performed in a way the convention right grants people with disability, the voter turnout would have been even better. Between every election, we upgrade our method further based upon participant feedback. This time, we focused on digital support. Guess the party. This is an original idea based upon participant feedback on how hard it is to know what politicians speak for what party. We created a simple memory game that also can be programmed for local level. Click the politician and click the logo of his or her party. If correct, green. If not correct, red. Try again, click the red marked politicians and reset that choice and have a new try. A further development, Who's in Charge is a further development of an idea originally produced by Victoria State Electoral Commission in Australia. Click the map of the society and then answer the question. Who's in charge of this politically? Municipality, regional, or national government? Questions are voice recorded if support is needed. We were also inspired by MENCAP England and their campaign in 2015, with questions online for politicians to answer. Swedish electoral districts and levels bring different challenges to the task, so we used Facebook's established structure for it. Please roll the video. In Midval, yes.
Vad gör ni för att göra det möjligt för människor som behöver stationer att flytta hemifrån?
Och undrar om tryggheten här i Nybro.
Varför vi får inte mer lön?
Hur ni ska göra de poliserna skyldigheterna.
Hur satsar ni på ungdomar här i Nybro kommun?
Och jag undrar varför habbersättningen är så låg.
Förut fick vi smörgås med hos med den och kom med detta bort. Kan vi få tillbaka den?
Jag tycker vintertid eller sommartid ska tas bort.
We also created an image report on politics. Was produced on demand from study circle leaders. The image report has multiple use to support the topic for the moment or as an educational tool. What subject are you most concerned about? Who's in charge of that? Let's have a quiz on politics. My choice, my election, is an initiative of Studieförbundet Vuxenskolan and FUB, but we are not alone. So main contributors are listed on the screen, but most important is still the feedback from our participants with ID. And for those of you who want to know more than it is room for in 8 minutes, we'll have some pamphlets for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kjell, for presenting what you do in Sweden and the importance of political participation for everyone. It's a discussion we hear more and more, and that's very good, very good. And I mean, for example, in Europe we have also the European elections coming soon, so the discussion will come up. But it's not only in Europe; it's for everyone. And I think what you presented is a very good example. So we are moving forward, and basically we are going a bit to the south, but not that far, to Israel, where we have 2 presenters, I think. Yeah. Lilach BAR, Leadership Center Director at Beit Isi Shapiro, and Abed DAKA, Director for Supported Living Services in Israel, Elwin. Yep. So they will speak about persons with intellectual disabilities becoming advocates in politics. So connected to the previous speaker in a way. And yeah, we're looking forward. The floor is yours.
Hi, hello. My name is Abed. I'm a white man with glasses. Lilach will describe herself later. We would like to present a unique self-advocacy program developed by our 2 organizations, Beit Isi Shapiro and Israel Elwin. It's called Self-Advocacy, National Self-Advocacy Group. The structure of the self-advocacy program. The self-advocacy program of people with intellectual disability made up of 10 regional groups and 1 national group of representatives from each region. The national group is engaged in advancing national policy to benefit all people with intellectual disabilities across the country. Participants in the national group first start by joining one of our 10 regional groups where they deal with local issues such as their community living services, neighborhoods, and workplaces. This allows them to build leadership skills, and this is a condition to for participating in the national group. The National Self-Advocacy Group. The group's work is based on grassroots principles and aims to create greater inclusion in society, self-empowerment towards self-determined life paths, increased equal participation of people with intellectual disability in policy-making forums. We provide the group participants with training, which gives them tools to be group leaders. Each group is accompanied by a facilitator who is a person without disability, who also goes through training process. Through this process, participants become not only self-advocates, but also leaders who represent their community. Stages of leadership development. First, developing self-efficacy, building a positive identity capability. 2, creating cohesive group dynamics. Acting as a cohesive group allows them to use their common power to create social change rather than taking an individual stand for change. 3, developing leadership skills. Members develop key leadership skills such as assessing needs, writing strategy papers, working with the press, working with decision makers, conflict resolution and negotiation. 4. Transition to action. Carrying out activities that advance social policy change, such as initiating meetings with senior government officials, local authorities, and opinion leaders in order to influence lawmaking and policy. Now we want to share some example of the group success. The first is in the policy change process for autonomous living in the community. While the process is still ongoing, so far the group has had meetings with the Minister of Welfare and senior welfare officials, written a position paper, and held a meeting with some directors of the community living services. Here in the photo, you can shows the group in meeting with the former Minister of Welfare. But the group's biggest success has been the amendment of the legal guardianship law. The group participated in discussions in the Knesset, in the parliament, our parliaments, represented the needs of people with intellectual disabilities. Thanks to the member of the group, adults with disability now have the right to support decision-making rather than automatic full guardianship. This has a major impact and allows people with disability to make decisions for themselves. In the picture, in the photo, the picture here shows the group member in the parliament and in discussion about the law.
The next steps. The group is continuing to work on policy in areas that they have chosen. As we heard from Dorothy, the first is relationships and the right to marry and have a family, and increase the ability to make decisions about how, where, and with whom they want to live. And we didn't speak before. The second area is focused on opportunities and equality of employment. Policy and social change in these areas will affect all people with disabilities. This is the mission in the group and the reason they are so dedicated. Social and personal impact. First, the group is now an address for government officials and decision makers to consult as expert consultants on policy, which is one of the most impactful outcomes of this group's work. Second, the group has seen real practical influence on legislative processes as a result of their action. And in the personal level, each group member has developed a strong sense of personal empowerment and capability. Well, the people who should really be here today are the group members themselves. For technical reasons, unfortunately, they could not join us, but we would like to share the following video, which will allow you to hear from them directly.
קוראים לי אנה. אני נמצא בקבוצת סינגור עצמי. בשבילי סינגור עצמי זה להילחם על זכויות של אנשים עם מוגבלות.
הייתי בכנסת, והוא שמע אותנו על אפוטרופוס, שיהיה תום החלטה, ולא יהיה אפוטרופוס.
אנחנו גאים, אנחנו מאוד מאוד גאים בזה שאנחנו הצלחנו לעשות את הנושא הזה.
יש לי מלא ביטחון עצמי. היה לי 3 רעיונות עבודה, ואחד מהם שמצאתי זה היה בבית טיילור בקריית יובל, ושם קיבלתי את ה... אני עדיין מקבלת משכורת טובה, ומקווה שאני אמשיך גם שנה הבאה.
עד לפני 2 הייתי גר בדיור מוגן, היום אני עצמאי לגמרי, שוכר דירה לגמרי בשוק הפתוח, משלם חשבונות, קניות, מארח, אין כמו האזרחות כמו שאומרים.
שמי יעל, אני שייכת לקבוצת סינגור ארצית, אני עובדת בגן ילדים, והיה 3 שנים שלא קיבלתי משכורת בכלל, כאילו זה היה בהתנדבות. ארגנו מפגש מנהלים של המסגרות. נלחמתי על זה, ובזכות הלחימה בעצם אני עכשיו מקבלת.
קוראים לי קרס, גרה בנתניה. הסנגור עבורי זה נתן לי ביטחון, ידע איך להשפיע על אנשים, להשפיע על כל הסביבה. אני חושבת שאנשים עם מוגבלויות יש להם יותר השפעה, להצליח ולא לפחד ולהגשים את כל חלום שהם רוצים.
Thank you, Lilach and Abed, for showing us the work you do in Israel and how you connect people with intellectual disabilities and with policymakers and how you involve them in politics. One more very important project I forgot, I think, to mention earlier that this is also one of the awardees. And now we will go to the final, also awardee, and it's two ladies who will connect online, if I'm not mistaken, Monica Rocha and Ana Beatriz Dantas. They will connect from Brazil, so a long flight from Israel. But I hope, it will be, not I hope, I'm sure it will be a nice end for the speeches. So Monica and Anna, the floor is yours. We are looking forward to hear about the self-advocacy group of persons with intellectual disabilities you will talk about. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the honor to be here. So I am Ana Beatriz. I am a white woman with ginger hair. I wear glasses. And behind me, you can see a brown wardrobe. And this is Monica. She's head of the self-advocacy project. She's a white woman with blonde hair, and she's wearing a pink t-shirt. So she's the head of the project, and I am the volunteer, and I am here as the speaker and the interpreter. So I will talk a little more about our project, right? So we are from Instituto João Clemente. We work with people with intellectual disabilities and also people with within the autism spectrum disorder and some other rare diseases. Well, it's an honor to be here, and we're going to tell you a little more how we break paradigms and how we promote change in the lives of people with intellectual disability. You can go to the next slide. So on these two pictures, you will see groups of people with intellectual disability from our projects. The first picture, they are standing up and they are very happy. In the next one, you see a picture of a meeting that we hold. So today in Brazil, we have over 2.6 million with people with intellectual disability who face many kinds of barriers in their daily lives. So not only do they face barriers when trying to access education, but also when trying to access, when trying to have jobs, right? Employment. And most of them depend on their families or on benefits like disability insurances to live. So this project actually started 12 years ago, and we understood that something needed to be done to tackle this deep social problem. So we have dedicated our work to empower people with intellectual disabilities. The next slide, please. Oh, sorry, the last one. Yes, so what is the essence of the self-advocacy project? So what we want to do is we want to grant these people more autonomy and more independence in their lives. Not only that, but also in society. We believe that social change is not possible when those directly involved, when those directly affected are not directly involved. The third slide, please. Perfect. So what do? We hold regular meetings for people with intellectual disabilities, and these meetings, they are held by some of our self-advocates. So that by being in a group, they have the opportunity to recognize themselves as people with intellectual disabilities. So there you have the self-awareness. In these meetings, they are educated about their rights. So we facilitate access to the rights. I will talk later about the material we use to do this. And we also promote discussion about these rights. Other than that, we also develop other abilities such as leadership skills and debating skills so that they can occupy key roles in their lives and in society. The next slide, please. Okay, so how do we do this? How do we create this impact? We build up character and we try to strengthen their own abilities. So the abilities that they already have. And in these meetings, our self-advocates and the people we hold the meetings with, they have the chance to share their knowledge of their rights with other people. And not only do we educate these people in the groups, but we also educate families in the process, which is also a big part. So we provide guidance and information for the people and their families, because how can we make these people more independent in their lives when they get home and then they don't have a right to speak in their own family? So we are constantly fostering participation in public spheres and debates on inclusion. And all this support is given this support on access and communication is given by Monica and her team. In this picture, you will find one of the pictures is the group is meeting and oh no, sorry, you can go to the next slide. So some of our achievements, right? In the other picture, you could see Stephanie. Stephanie is one of our self-advocates and one of the most active participating ones. So Stephanie actually did not recognize herself as a person with an intellectual disability. And she had some difficulties in reading and writing. And I'm gonna share a little bit more about her story. So because she had difficulties in writing and speaking, she would only send audio messages to her boyfriend and she would feel ashamed. And when she started to take part in the self-advocacy group, and when she heard other people sharing her experiences and seeing the self-advocates in such active roles, she became not only aware of her condition, but also proud of it. And after she acknowledged her condition to her boyfriend, he ended up leaving her, but she did not give up. Actually, it made her even more independent in different aspects of her life and giving her more freedom of choice. So she had the opportunity to expand cultural, social, and educational opportunities because today she's a worker. She's part of the institution. She's hired by the Instituto João Clemente, and she integrates the self-advocacy team. And she also has plans to study social service in the university. So this is one of our biggest achievements. You will see a picture of her in an international plenary. Our next big achievement that we are very proud of is our self-advocacy guidelines. So this is the material that we use in our meetings to educate people with intellectual disabilities. And one of our achievements is that it's available in Portuguese, English, and Spanish, and we will share with you by the end of this presentation. And our next achievement, you can see there in the picture, is a meeting is a public meeting in the mega city of São Paulo. So So the city of São Paulo awarded us with the prize recognizing the best practices with the Human Rights and Diversity mark. And we were nominated as a reference in inclusion for São Paulo, one of the biggest cities of the world. The next slide, please. So what kind of challenges do we face? Well, the first challenge is we have few financial resources as well from private investors as from the government. So we have few public tender notices that we can subscribe and try to gain this investment. The other challenge we face is the prejudice because people with intellectual disabilities are seen as incapable of learning and incapable of participating actively, not only in their lives, but in politics as well. And our last challenge is that we cannot let the self-advocacy project become institutionalized. So we have to take it beyond the institution so that we create a true network of people. The next one, please. And our next steps, so we would really like
hello,
to...
I'm sorry, can you hear me? Just to let you know that because we're going over time, to just have it in mind to not take it very long, please.
Oh, I'm finishing. Okay,
Yeah, okay,
wrapping up,
perfect,
sorry.
perfect. I mean, you can take your time, but just to have in mind to not speak either 1 more 10 minutes or something. Thank you very much, thank you. Obrigado.
Thank you. So we basically want to expand this to a national level, and next we want to share the material with you. The next slide, please. So there you find the QR code on your left, I believe. You find the guide in Spanish, and on your right you find the guide in English. And well, this is it. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share our story with you, and also to be inspired by so many other amazing stories. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your work. Thank you for presenting.
Can you show again the QR code, please?
Ah, yes, we would like to see the QR code again. Okay, I think we see it here in the screen. It's perfect for everyone who is interested. So thank you for your very interesting presentation and for showing us your work in Brazil. And this means that with the Brazil presentation, we see that basically in our discussion today, in 90-something minutes, we had all continents represented. I don't know if any other panel has that, so I am very proud to be in such a panel. And you know, each of the projects were really, really good and really, really important. And big congratulations to everyone. I think that we see that no matter where you are in the planet, you know, disabled people are there, and disabled people have challenges, but also have strength and have power. And when we support each other and we come together and share experiences, also thanks to events like the Zero Project and Zero Conference, then we are able, you know, to move forward. And what I see is that we are improving and we are moving forward. So we heard about all the awardees. And I think we have a few minutes, maybe 5 or something, a little bit more. So since we have almost a full room, which is very, very nice, so thank you all for coming, I wanted to see if there is anyone who has any particular question. Keep it short, and let's see, maybe we can answer something. Is there anyone? Feel free to raise your hand or indicate in any other way that you would like to speak. Let's see. I think I don't see anyone. Okay, I mean, you don't have to have questions. That's totally fine. That means that our presenters did a very good job and very clear job, which I'm very sure they did, and I feel they did. So I will not ask questions, because if I ask one, I will be discriminating to the other ones, and I don't think I have time to ask 10 questions. So I think I am very happy that we are on time, first of all, with so many speeches. And yeah, I hope you enjoy. You will have 5 more minutes for break, which I think is always welcome in this kind of events. And since we are giving awards in this event, I want to give one more award for myself. Zero award for the lady in the front with the Kermit frog hat for the best hat of the event. So, yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, the interpreters. Thank you to Lina next to me for her patience with me. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the event.
Picture. We need a picture of all of you.
Ah, yeah, we take a picture.
All the speakers.
Yeah, the speakers come here for a picture. Here or downstairs? I don't know where's better.
Wherever you want.
Tô te mandando